Mabuhay or in Kapampangan with kayo. February is Black History Month and March is Women's History Month. So today's question is, who was I.W. Wells Barnett? I.W. Wells was born on July 16, 1862, and she was born a slave because the Emancipation Proclamation was only signed 6 months after her birth. I.W. Wells was an abolitionist, a feminist, a journalist, and she was, and she still remains, one of the greatest African American activists in history. She was one of the early leaders of the civil rights movement here in the United States. And along with other activists, with fellow African American activists, she co-founded the NAACP, or the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People. She was a very prominent African American who was also advocating for women's rights. In fact, she was a trailblazing leader in the women's suffrage movement. She was also instrumental in establishing many women's organizations. But perhaps she is best known for her extensive documentation and tireless campaigns against the gruesome lynching of Black people in the United States. She exposed the barbaric brutalities of white Americans in their continuous efforts to oppress Black people. She even created the first kindergarten for African Americans to ensure that the younger and the future generations of Black people received education. But it wasn't just Black people and women in America that she was fighting for. Throughout her campaigns, her newspaper articles, editorials, speeches, her lecture tours, both at home and abroad, I.W. Wells was also campaigning against the Philippine-American War. In one of her famous speeches in Washington, D.C. back in 1899, she was quoted saying, which I also quoted in my book, that Black people should oppose expansion until the US government was able to protect the Black people at home. She saw the interwoven struggles of Black and brown people under white supremacy and US imperialism. She underlined the similarities between the gruesome lynching of Black people in America and the atrocious genocide that was simultaneously unfolding in the Philippines. She continued fighting for the rights of the people, for our rights, throughout her life. She was an ardent activist and served the people until her death in 1931. She was remembered saying, "I felt that one had better die fighting against injustice than to die like a dog or a rat in a trap." If you want to learn more about the African Americans in the Philippine-American War, check out my book, Black Lives and Brown Freedom, Untold Histories of War, Solidarity and Genocide. Here's a quote from Ida. And that is it for me today. If you like this video and learned a thing or two, don't forget to subscribe. And if you want to help me make more videos like this, show your support and please be my patron or get a copy of my book, Takalpong Salamat. See you next time, or in Tagalog kita kits and in Kapampangan, Mikitix.